In this video, I got one more practice for you to increase your emotional intelligence over time. Travis Bradbury, the author of Emotional Intelligence 2.0, he says emotions are the foundation of everything we say and do. The reality is our entire human experience is that of an emotional experience. We describe our experiences with emotion. It's the emotional roller coaster through movies that catch us. So like I said before, Warren Buffett, Harvard Business, they had said that emotional intelligence is the number one skill that you can develop that will determine success in your life. So without further ado, that one practice that I wanted to introduce to you today is try experiencing your emotions, but not judging them as good or bad. When you feel a certain feeling, don't judge it as good or bad. Don't mind me, guys, I'm losing my voice a little, but we'll keep it going. When you experience an emotion, try to observe it, witness it. It's often trying to get you to pay attention to something deeper. Sure, when it's obvious, when someone, let's say, is abusing you, violating you, whatever, assaulting you, it's obvious why a certain emotion is provoked out of you. But when it's little things that trigger you, that doesn't trigger everyone else, mostly everyone else, you need to pay attention to what is it. Zeph. The only way you'll be able to understand what your emotion is about, what the deeper root of it is, what the message is if you can first stop judging it as good or bad. As children, especially if we've grown up in dysfunctional homes, abusive homes, a lot of times certain emotions were deemed as shameful, deemed as not allowed here. No crying in this house, no whatever it is. There is a deeper meaning when you feel a certain emotion. The more we practice not judging the emotion as good or bad, and we start to get curious, become like investigative, when we become more investigative as far as what is this emotion trying to tell me? What are the sensations that I feel in my body? When you get curious, the more you dig into this, it's like a rabbit hole. And you want to go down this rabbit hole because you'll learn a lot about yourself. So this practice is going to help you develop self-awareness. Self-awareness is one pillar of emotional intelligence. Without a growing self-awareness, there will be no increase or development of emotional intelligence. So we have to become aware of ourselves first. The interesting thing about diving into these rabbit holes, as far as when we feel triggered, as far as when we feel offended, yet it doesn't offend a lot of other people, but you just took it to such great offense, even though there was no direct or even indirect attack to you, but you perceived it as something very, very offensive. When you go down that rabbit hole, it's the journey of you becoming more self-aware of yourself. And in that rabbit hole, what you're going to discover is a lot of beliefs that you hold, fears that are attached to those beliefs, lies about yourself, self-talk, a lot of trauma. And this is all behind the language of your emotions. Did you know that scientific studies have shown and proven to this day, especially when you dive into the work of epigenetics, under Bruce Lipton, what is his name? Dr. Joe Dispenza, epigenetics, they show how the biology of belief affects your health. The biology of belief is all about beliefs that you hold affect your physiology. They affect whether or not diseases manifest, chronic pains persist, chronic pains continue to manifest, and also vice versa, whether they are able to heal, whether they're able to dissipate. The biology of belief, every thought pattern is tied to an emotion. It's tied to a feeling. Another thing is most people don't have a vocabulary of emotions, nor do they have the IQ to identify what they're feeling. So many of us have been taught in our society that certain emotions are bad, or if you're a man, it's not good to feel this way, it's not good to show this emotion, it's not good to show quote unquote weakness. But all that has done is suppress certain emotions. We've not learned to really understand what it is. Our subconscious mind gets us triggered by certain things over and over and over again because it's trying to get us to address something that we've buried, address a wound, a fear, a belief that is not true, that is not the truth, that we've made true, that we've held on to, and we don't want to let it go. And now it's destroying our life in some way, shape, or form. The world, the way God works, He gets you to face it. He puts it in front of you over and over and over again till you finally take responsibility and dive into that rabbit hole and begin to understand it. And stop judging it as good or bad, because it's actually for your good to understand yourself, to understand this thing called emotions that make up our entire life experience. Our entire life experience cannot be separated from our emotional experience, unless, of course, you're a psychopath or a narcissist. And, to some degree, once upon a time, they probably did have an emotional experience until some deep, deep trauma blocked and cut that off from them. But I digress. I say just first practice not demonizing any emotions. Observe them, witness them, welcome them, thank the emotion, and just truly witness it. Try to understand what is going on inside of you, because it's not about the other person. When you're triggered, it's about you. It's about you and maybe a boundary you haven't set, maybe some type of core value that you have not been able to stand for. So to better understand what an emotion is, it's not, I feel like going swimming today. That's not an actual emotion or feeling. That's a thought. To clarify, just to give you a better understanding so you can identify what you're feeling, so you can identify your emotions. Emotions are described in one word. So you can say, I feel joyful, I feel sad, I feel misled, I feel confused, I feel burdened, I feel happy, I feel wonderful. So, and you can feel at the same time, you can feel so-called opposite feelings at the same time in certain experiences. You can feel bittersweet in one event in your life. You can feel grief and yet gladness. You can feel sorrow and yet gratefulness. So just to clarify, it doesn't, like, the human experience is so complex and it's so rich that nothing is black and white. But I hope this just gives you a better idea of how to identify your emotions and to not see them as good or bad, But I hope this makes you more investigative. In fact, the word I was looking for is I hope this makes you more contemplative. Be contemplative. When you feel a certain emotion, especially the ones that are deemed unacceptable, get contemplative. Sure, there are going to be moments where you want to burst out in anger and rage. Put it on pause. This is a part of emotional intelligence, is learn to get to the place where you can put that on pause, but you don't suppress it. Let's say you're the owner or you're the manager of this organization, and you're dealing with narcissists, you're dealing with psychopaths that are in the company. In order for you to be that person who is elevating in emotional intelligence, you're going to have to be able to not turn into a psychopath or a narcissist too by just mirroring that person. So, those are the moments where you're going to have to learn to just put what you feel on hold, put it on pause, and later you go and reflect. Later, when you're not in that situation, when you're not in the company of those people where let's say you really wanted to just choke them out or you wanted to knock them out or whatever it is, later you go and reflect. You can journal, and I'll talk about different ways to process these emotions and identify them. But there are certain times when you have to put it on pause because certain expressions of certain emotions like rage, sometimes you can't always just express it in the moment. We live professional lives. If we're in like these companies, especially companies that are here to help people, serve the world, serve communities, but we're gonna deal with those psychopaths, we're gonna deal with the narcissists, and we're gonna deal with all of those control freaks. But this is why emotional intelligence is one of the most important skills that will help you excel and guarantee your success in your life. You'll also be able to identify those types of Machiavellian personality traits, those narcissists and those psychopaths. Maybe not instantly, but you'll catch cues over time and then you'll catch it. Anyway, I hope this video helps you. I hope it helps you get to the next level in your life. I hope it gets you to evaluate and navigate toxic relationships, set boundaries with certain relationships, and boundaries for yourself. Boundaries for yourself. And I hope you understand what beliefs and fears you need to let go when you get triggered, and what God is calling you to pay attention to that has not yet been healed. All right, guys, peace. Aloha.